HodlHodl Hodl is a peer-to-peer Bitcoin exchange where you can purchase Bitcoin KYC free and directly into your own custody. Now, recently, HodlHodl Hodl integrated with Trezor and Trezor Suite so that Trezor users can purchase KYC free Bitcoin directly into their own custody, into their own cold storage from their dashboard on their desktop app. Today, we're going to take a look at how to do this so that you can stack sats without having to go through a trusted third party. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions, and this is your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.
Before we dive in, let's give a shout out to sponsors of the show, Start9.com. These guys are your sovereign computing solution. You can run your own Bitcoin stack, including your own Bitcoin node, Lightning node, established channels, but you can also run your entire life on this thing. And what I mean is your personal data, things like passwords, file sharing, hosting your own photos, all of that. You can get it out of the hands of third parties and manage it your own on your Start9 Embassy. They have two options, the Embassy 1 and the Embassy Pro, which is a beefed up version that really goes above and beyond. It is a high-end device. So if you want to check out Start9, you can head over to start9.com and tickle your fancy with whatever version works best for you. Up next, we've got CoinKite. These guys just have the best damn hardware in the game. I love my Cold Card Mark IV for securing my Bitcoin stack. The thing is badass. I've got a full tutorial on it. Also, they've got all kinds of other great stuff in their store. They've got the Open Dimes. They've got the Block Clock, which is a must for any Bitcoiner shelf. And they've also got other really cool things like NFC with the tap signer and the Sats card. So be sure to check out coinkite.com. You can use code BTC Sessions for 5% off everything in the store. Up next, of course, they're going to be featured in this video, but HodlHodl Hodl, peer-to-peer Bitcoin exchange. So if KYC free, peer-to-peer and self-custody are top of mind when obtaining Bitcoin, obviously this is the place to go. But I won't rant too much on them here because you'll see it in action when we get into the video. HodlHodl, if you're backing up any important Bitcoin wallet, whether it be your CoinKite cold card, whether it be your Trezor, whatever it may be, you should be backing it up in solid steel. You don't want this stuff, this important information sitting on a piece of paper, because that opens you up to things like fire damage and water damage. If you want robust peace of mind, HodlHodl, you can get it into solid steel. So head over to privacypros.io/BTC Sessions if you want a little deal on that. And finally, if you're in Canada, another easy way to stack sats is Shakepay.com. You can transfer in and out with e-transfer, no deposit withdrawal fees, no withdrawal fees on getting Bitcoin into your own self-custody, which of course they do encourage. And if you sign up with the link down below after your first $100 purchase, they'll give you $10 for free. So be sure to check them out, Shakepay.com. Tons of awesome stuff for stacking sats on there. And with that, let's dive into the tutorial. So let's just start with some prerequisites here and some general knowledge that you'll need to have in order to make this work. First up, we're going to be using the Trezor with Trezor Suite, which is the native app that you would use on your desktop to interact with your Trezor device. Secondly, HodlHodl, the website, hodlhodl.com, you will need an account there, which all they really need is an email address. But in the process of using it through Trezor Suite, if you don't already have an account there, it'll just prompt you to set one up with an email. And again, this can be a dummy email. If the point is KYC free and you want to be private about the Bitcoin that you own, then obviously don't use an email that points directly to you. And then finally, later on in the episode, we'll be going into, or at least directing you towards a couple other resources in regards to additional privacy with your Bitcoin, if that's something you would like to look at. Things like connecting to a node so that you are not requesting information from Trezor's nodes or an infrastructure that they have. And then also other privacy techniques in and around CoinJoin. I'll point you towards some other videos that may help with that. Outside of that, all you're really going to need to know with this video is I'm going to make the assumption that you've already gotten and set up your Trezor and used Trezor Suite. If not, there will be a link down below for that tutorial. And that's pretty much it, because I'll be walking through HodlHodl. If you do want a more in-depth look at HodlHodl, then you can go ahead and watch my dedicated video for just using directly on that platform. That will be linked below as well. Enough rambling, let's get started. Okay, so here we are on desktop. I have Trezor Suite open and set up, and I've got my Trezor plugged in, and I've entered my PIN code on the device. Now, again, if you're unfamiliar with how to get to this point, the link will be down below so that you can set up your Trezor so that you're up to speed where we are right now. So if you need to go ahead and do that, take a break from this video, jump to that. But if you're here, then we can just start navigating to where we can purchase Bitcoin. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hit the buy button. And then it's going to take me to this screen. Now, in order to utilize HodlHodl for peer-to-peer KYC free, then all you need to do is in this little section here, there's a bunch of tabs: buy, sell, exchange, spend. We want buy P2P or peer-to-peer. So we're going to click on that option. Now it says, how much would you like to buy worth of Bitcoin? And it lets you designate your local currency. So I'm in Canada, so I'm looking for CAD, Canadian dollars. Again, if you're in the US, then just use US dollars, but we'll just do a small buy. We'll do 50 bucks, okay? And we're gonna hit show offers. What options do I have? Who is selling Bitcoin for Canadian dollars? All right, so I can kind of look here and I can sort through different people that are giving options. It says it will give you the provider, the location, the types of payment methods that they'll accept, how quickly they typically are with these payments. Again, amount range is here, price per Bitcoin. So people will set different thresholds. Sometimes you'll be paying a bit of a premium. Sometimes it's not too bad, but oftentimes people are okay with paying maybe a few percent above to obtain Bitcoin that isn't going to require all of their information in their firstborn child. So I can scroll down here, see a number of different options. Now, I've used HodlHodl before, obviously, and so I've dealt with some sellers previously. And I can even, if I want to, I can back out here and I can choose specifically people from within my country if I choose. Again, 50 Canadian worth of Bitcoin offers for Canada. So I can hit show offers there, and that will narrow it down even further. Okay, so again, I'll get people that are located in Canada, but it may have a threshold below the amount that this person is selling while they're doing large buys. Wow, a $2,000 minimum. But Here's a seller that I have dealt with previously, and actually he's set up pretty well. Everything is pretty automated. This is somebody that I trust. And look, he accepts Interac e-transfer, which is pretty common here in Canada. It's a very easy way to pay people. Now, you should note that the payment methods that are there, obviously some of those can involve KYC. Like if you're sending from a bank account, then the individual that you're dealing with may be familiar with who you are. But that information is not on HodlHodl, right? Especially if you're using a dummy email or something like that, that information is not kept there. Yeah, maybe that you used this method, use Interac e-transfer, but your banking information isn't sitting there. So it basically prevents that honeypot of information sitting there where, you know, an exchange could get hacked and they can get all your banking information, everything. Not the case here. There are also alternative ways of payment, like people sometimes accept gift cards and other ways that don't require any identification whatsoever. So whatever your preferences are, that's what you would be looking for here. So, I know this seller, I've dealt with them before. The payment method works easily for me, so I can just click on get this deal. Okay, and it says keep security in mind. It gives you a number of different warnings. I'm buying cryptocurrency from a specific user using peer-to-peer technology with no KYC verification required. Transaction is completely private. It won't appear in my transaction history in terms of Trezor Suite. Maximum security is ensured by multi-sig escrow. So the way that funds are handled, it sits in an escrow with somebody kind of being the arbiter, making sure that funds are going where they're supposed to. So it's like a check against fraud. You still want to be careful though. I'm using Infinity to purchase funds that will be sent to an account under my direct personal control. I'm not using it for gambling or any other violation of Infinity's terms of service. I understand that cryptocurrencies are an emerging financial tool, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I understand that transactions are irreversible and I won't be able to receive a refund on my purchase. So I'm going to hit I understand and agree, confirm. And then it says, hey, get started. You need to initiate a transaction on HodlHodl. HodL. That's the platform that I referred to before. Make sure to follow the steps carefully. Select go to HodlHodl. You'll be redirected to the website. Sign in or create an account on the platform and follow its instructions. So if you are not already on HodlHodl, when you click the button, it'll just prompt you to create an account. And this is where all you need is just an email address, password, that kind of thing. And then once HodlHodl asks you for the release address, return here and continue. So this is where you'll get your address, a Bitcoin address for your Trezor, and then you'll be all set. So I'm going to hit go to HodlHodl. And it says it's going to be open in my browser. Yes, that's fine. I'll hit continue. So I get this, and I come to the page of the seller in question. Says, hey, I'm going to be spending 50 Canadian dollars. This is how much Bitcoin I'm going to be getting. Payment method is Interac e-transfer. The seller will have their own description of how this will work. And this will be dependent and different for every individual that is selling on HodlHodl. So it's important that you go through and you take a look at what the requirements are. As I said, I've dealt with this seller before. I understand how it works, and he's got a really easy automated way of purchasing Bitcoin within Canada. So I'm kind of familiar here. Basically, he's saying, all right, you're gonna want to send an email transfer, so on and so forth. There's a signal number, there's an email just in case things go awry, but everything looks good to me. So it says, hey, I need a release address. In case you haven't already entered the release address in the dashboard settings, you may enter it here. Please note the release address set on the page will only be valid for this one contract and will not be saved for future use. That's good. That's what we want. So we're going to jump back to Trezor Suite. We're going to go to receiving address. And we're going to hit reveal address. It's going to show on my Trezor. Right now it's asking me for my PIN on my Trezor. So I'm just putting that in really quickly. And at this point, it will show the address here on my computer screen, but also on my Trezor device as well. So I can look at this and I can verify that the address is indeed correct. That's on my screen. So I can hit the check mark on my Trezor device, and now it gives me the option to copy the address. All right, I'm going to make note of the first few and last few digits of this address just in my head, so that when I do paste it in, I'll make sure it looks familiar. So jump back to HodlHodl. We now have a release address, and this address here is for our Trezor. So that means as soon as we go through with this purchase, it will be sent directly to cold storage on our Trezor, and we'll see it in Trezor Suite. And then we have an option for payment method. If somebody has multiple options, they will be in the drop down here. This person in particular has one type of payment method, so I'm going to use Interac e-transfer, which is what I was looking for anyways. Everything here details further what's going to happen. So this individual is going to deposit a certain amount of Bitcoin. This is the amount of Bitcoin that's going to me, the buyer, minus the transaction fee. It says that the trading fee will be, what is this? About 968 sats, about 1,000 sats. The intermediary fee is 0. The fiat trading fee deduction is 13 cents. Transaction fee, which is the Bitcoin transaction fee on chain, and that's estimated, is all there. So it lays out literally everything here. Scroll down. I can leave a comment if I want, and then I can just accept offer and create contract. So at this point, a contract is created telling the person, hey, this person wants to buy this amount of Bitcoin. And I basically have to wait for them, but I do need to do one step before that. It says, in order to generate an escrow where Bitcoin will sit until my payment is received, both counterparties need to confirm their payment passwords. The seller will then be able to deposit funds into the newly generated escrow address. To do that, you need to confirm your payment password. It's important to remember it. The password is the only way to unlock the funds for escrow. So basically, you're creating a password here that will be used for this contract to unlock the funds afterwards. So I'm going to hit generate escrow. It says enter a password here. And then it says confirm. So I'm going to hit confirm. Now I'm not going to save that. And it says waiting for your counterparty to confirm their payment password as well. As soon as they enter their password, the escrow will be generated and they will be able to deposit Bitcoin until the seller enters the password. And look, they're already doing it. Status for contract is now moved from pending to depositing. So they entered a password and now they're waiting for the sellers to deposit Bitcoin in escrow. And then it also says down here, there's a little chat here. And this may be, in this instance, it's a bot because I know that this person has constructed a bot to automate this process. But at other times you're dealing with an individual directly and they'll be chatting with you saying, hey, this is how things work, or, everything all good. Do you need help with anything? So you can discuss with them here. Here it says, give me a moment to gather information. Payment amount for this contract is $50, not including minor fee. Estimates the minor fee to be around 66 cents Canadian. And then it says, please reply, is this okay? So I'm going to be paying $50.66 in an e-transfer, and I have to reply yes or no only. So I'm going to do all caps. Yes, important that you follow instructions well here. So I reply there. We'll wait for the response and we'll see what's next. All right, we now see, thank you, sending coins into escrow. So we'll now wait for a deposit of coins into the escrow, at which point we can then initiate payment. Now, there is a little warning up here. It says, do not send the funds until the contract is in the in-progress status. Do not release the funds until you have received the payment. Admin will never, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Anyways, basically what they're getting at here is if you basically don't want to make an action until you're told to. So we can now see it says, look, the funds have been sent to escrow. Everything's automated. It'll pop up with notifications as it happens. So the seller has deposited Bitcoin into an escrow that will sit there until they receive payment. Now it says, here's the transaction ID. I can click on this. It'll open up a block explorer and it'll say, hey, here's the transaction. It should confirm in one block. And I see all the details of it. Okay, fantastic. But it says here, do not send the money just yet. At this point, the contract is unsafe to complete because the escrow transaction does not have enough confirmations. Please stand by. This info will update automatically as soon as the transaction has enough confirmations. And it'll keep checking to see when the transaction confirms. At that point, I'll then be prompted to make my payment to the seller as per the instructions listed here. And I can see, hey, you got to send an e-transfer to a particular email address. So again, it's important to read the contract description of whatever their instructions are. Try not to deviate to that from that because it may result in the contract not going in your favor. So you got to make sure you listen to instructions. So we'll be back after this confirms. Okay, so we now have a single confirmation on the deposit of the Bitcoin we're purchasing into the escrow account. At this point, it says the funds are now locked in escrow. You can now go ahead and make the payment. So here it details online payment system, interact, e-transfer, send e-transfer to the following. If the secret answer is required, please make the answer Canada. Basically, it just tells exactly what is needed to do in order to complete the payment. Now, of course, I need to note that in the instructions here, it said, I'm not just spending $50, I'm spending $50.66 to cover the minor fee. All right, that is fine by me. So I'm now going to first go to my bank account and make that e-transfer payment. Or if you were using another payment method, you would go ahead, you would make the payment as instructed, and then I come back and hit I've sent the payment, but not before. Now, I'm not going to show you my bank account as I pull it up, but just know I'm making the payment as instructed, and we'll be back when that's done and we can see the rest of the transaction.
A few moments later.
Okay, so I've sent the payment now. I can now head over and hit I've sent the payment. It will take a moment to basically double check, did I indeed send the payment to them? And then it will say waiting for release from Escrow. And once that is confirmed, we'll get a notification and we should see it pop in directly to Trezor Suite into cold storage. Just a few moments later, I received a series of automated messages from the seller basically saying, hey, we received the e-transfer, here's a reference number, and we're releasing the funds from Escrow. And now I see the updated contract. It says completed. It gives me the price I bought at, what I got for it, how much Bitcoin, how much I spent. And then it says that the buyer's release address is this. So there's the address that I provided. Over here it says funds released from Escrow. The Bitcoins locked in Escrow have now been released to the following address. Please check your wallet for the incoming transaction. And remember, it takes 6 confirmations for the transaction to fully confirm, which might take approximately 60 minutes. And you can see the messages, hey, the contract has been fulfilled. I'm releasing the Bitcoin from Escrow right away. So everything here is all wrapped up, which means I can jump back to Trezor. Now I've closed the QR code that was up here before, but I can basically just navigate back and I can see, obviously this is in US dollars, by the way, just so you don't, you know the discrepancy there. I can change that. Change that to CAD. There we go. Let's go back to the dashboard. All right. And I can see I received Bitcoin. Of course, where people pull prices from are entirely different. Plus, you know, there's a fee for what I'm buying, basically. And so that's known as the spread. When you purchase Bitcoin, typically the way people make money is there's a spread between what they sell at and what they buy at. And so my premium here, you know, I had a couple of percent over spot price, plus where Trezor is pulling a price from can differ from where HodlHodl pulls a price from, so on and so forth, and the spread. So either way, I got pretty close to $50 worth of Bitcoin here, and I got it KYC free, peer-to-peer, directly into my own custody. And that's a great feature to have, and I'm glad to see that Trezor integrated it. Up next, let's talk about a few other things that can also help improve your privacy if that's what you're after. So up first, let's just touch on a couple things you could do within Trezor itself to help with your privacy. One of the things is enabling Tor. And so when you're in Trezor Suite, you're going to see this little button up here you can click on. It'll take you to settings. It'll allow you, it says enabling this will route all of the Suite's traffic through the Tor network, increasing your privacy and security. Tor may take a while to load and initiate a connection. And you can just click that toggle switch on, which I've already done. Now, another thing you can do is connect to your own Bitcoin node. Now, if you're not running a node, that's okay. It's something you can do down the line. Tor will help in the first place, but if you are running a node, it's pretty easy to connect within Trezor. So I'm gonna click on crypto here, and then under here, it shows active coins. Now I've upgraded to the Bitcoin only version of the firmware on Trezor. Again, you can check that out on their website, how to do that. But nonetheless, I can go to Bitcoin. I can hit the little switch here. And right now I'm connected to the back end, which is the Trezor's nodes. So basically every time I do a transaction or receive a transaction, I'm asking somebody else to check their Bitcoin node if I have money. Okay. If you don't want to be leaking that information, querying different Bitcoin transactions or broadcasting different transactions using somebody else's node, and you want to do it through your own node, well, you can do that. And so under connection info, you do the drop down. This is what I'm connected to right now, one of their servers. However, maybe I don't want to connect to their servers. So I can up top here, there's a drop down, and I can do a custom Electrum server. So I'm going to click on that now. And when I click on that, I get an option to paste in an Electrum server of my choosing. So it gives an example of what that might look like, electrum.example.com, and then this is a port number 50001, which is used with Electrum, and then it says T, I believe that stands for Tor, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, I need to paste in some information here from my node. So I'm going to show you how I would do that. And I've got some stuff open here. So I've got my embassy. So this is the Start9 Embassy. I spoke about it at the beginning, but this is an example of running your own Bitcoin node. I'm going to include a link to my tutorial on how to build and use and do all of that with Start9 down below. Nonetheless, I'm running something called Electrum server. I'm running a full copy of the Bitcoin blockchain, all of that stuff. So I have all the information myself. I don't need to be getting it from anybody else. So to get the information that Trezor needs, I just need to go to Electrum server and then properties. And there's something that says quick connect URL. It's hidden right now, but there's a copy button. So I can hit copy. I'm going to go over to Trezor. I'm going to paste in that information right where it said to. So I'm going to paste that in, and then I'm going to hit confirm. All right. And I'm going to hide the information here, but at least you'll know, okay, I'm pasting and hitting confirm. That's all I need to do. So I'll do that. We'll be back in a sec. Okay. So after I've hit confirm, I will be bumped back to this screen. It will say here on Bitcoin, custom backend. I now see, of course, we turned on Tor before, so that's checked off. And my Electrum server is over Tor as well, so that was necessary to have on in the first place. And then there's also a little green check here. Now, if you click on it, which I'm not going to do right now, but if you click on it, it will say Electrum, and then it will have the URL for your particular node, letting you know that you are not connected. You're now connected to your own node and in making inquiries about transactions through that instead of somebody else's infrastructure. Now, I do want to show you how to connect with a different node that a lot of people tend to use as well. So on Umbrel here, you can also have Electrum server, same application that was running on Start9. And if you click on that, it will take you to this page and it will say local network or Tor, and you can toggle between these switches. Now, local network, I believe will work in Trezor Suite, but good to go through Tor nonetheless. And there will be likely other options of connecting because Tor sometimes can be slow to connect. All right. So in this instance, I would click on Tor. I'm not going to do it now to reveal that information, but it is set up a little bit differently. So there'll be a URL here. The port number is down here. What you'll need to do is you'll need to click on Tor, copy that information and paste it in, but then you've got to make a colon. So the two dots, you got to put a colon, then you have to put in the port number 50001, and then you need one more colon and then just the letter T for Tor. Okay. So it'll be this colon T. All right. And it does explain that. It does show that when you go into the settings here, it gives an example URL and it shows the port number colon T at the end. So really it's just Worst thing that happens if you try it and it doesn't work, it just doesn't work and it says it's an invalid URL. But as soon as you type it in correctly, it will give you the go ahead to hit confirm. Either way, you'll be set up, you'll be connected to your own backend, and you can use Trezor Suite as normal, but now you're not relying on anybody else's infrastructure. Now, another thing that will be useful here is also labeling. Being able to label where transactions have come from so that you're privy to who knows what you have and where. And the way that you would do that, if you go into accounts, you can go into your Bitcoin account specifically. You can scroll down to the bottom. You see, here's pending transaction number 1. And if I hover over it, I can add a label. And if I add that label, I can call it from Hodl Hodl. Okay, now let's hit the check mark. There we go. So I now have a label on that transaction so that I'm privy to, again, what coins I'm dealing with. And that can be helpful in the future if I particularly maybe don't want to share information about me having certain coins with certain people, or you want to be careful about letting people know how much money you have in general. You don't want to paint a target on your back. So I would get into the habit of labeling regardless. And again, it's a great feature to see added to Trezor Suite. There is something else I'd like to see them add, not currently available within Trezor Suite, but perhaps down the line, maybe it's something that they'll consider adding. So we'll jump to one other example I want to show you that maybe you can dive into. Now, there's one other recommendation that I'm going to give you guys that I think is useful, again, if privacy is your focus, and that would be using Whirlpool CoinJoin within Sparrow Wallet. So the flow of this would be a little bit different. I'm not going to go deep into it. I'm not going to do too much explaining, but this is another tutorial that I've done on Sparrow Wallet. You can use Trezor within Sparrow Wallet, but if you prefer to use your Trezor Suite, that's totally fine. The flow that I would say, if you're still going to be using Trezor Suite here, would be to get a receiving address for Sparrow. When that money comes into Sparrow, you mix it using Whirlpool, but then you can automate the mixing to deliver to your Trezor. Okay, and you can do that and you can still interact with Trezor Suite, but again, this is a step above and beyond. I'll link this video down below just in case you want to give it a try. Either way, I hope this is helpful. All in all, I am very happy to see Trezor Suite integrate HodlHodl Hodl and peer-to-peer buying of KYC-free sats into their software. I think it's a wonderful tool for people to utilize. I encourage you to, even if you're not going to be using it regularly, familiarize yourself with it should you ever need to use it in the future. You never know what can happen. But I do recommend you check out those different things. And then if you're so inclined, if you want to go down that privacy rabbit hole, then things like using Tor, connecting to your own node, and perhaps diving down the rabbit hole that is CoinJoin could be up your alley. Either way, I hope this has been helpful, at least in helping you obtain KYC free sats in a easy integrated fashion if you're a Trezor user. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, please do hit like, subscribe, share. All those things help a ton getting this type of content in front of more eyeballs. If you want to help the show in another way, you can hit up the previously mentioned sponsors in the show notes. That was Start9, CoinKite, HodlHodl, BillFodl, and Shakepay. Furthermore, if you find that the free tutorials on my channel are not quite enough, you need a little bit of extra hand-holding, some back and forth, the ability to ask questions as you go, I do book one-on-one sessions with individuals. You can do that through my website, btcsessions.ca. And finally, if you really liked what you saw, you can always drop me a Bitcoin tip at my Strike page, strike.me/BTC sessions. Head there, type in any amount you want, hit the tip button. You'll be greeted with a Lightning invoice first, and if you prefer, tap the arrow to the right, you'll see a regular Bitcoin QR code. With that, I'm out. Have yourselves a wonderful day or evening. See you guys next time for your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.